My name is also the compier's name.
Dr. Meenakshi.
Name. No, I am from Mustard.
No, I can't connect.
Come
Meena.
on.
Meena.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Hello, Dr. Meenakshi. How are you?
I'm fine. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, ma'am, after 2 minutes, we will start.
Sure. Anytime.
Hi.
Manager.
Hi.
We've been muted.
Now I got it. Now I can hear. I can hear you. Couldn't hear Rachana. Rita.
Hi, manager. How are you?
Good. Now I can hear you. How are you?
I'm good. Waiting for the host to host me.
Okay, great. Good to see you and Ranjana.
Vanya, I can see the clock on your wall.
Yeah, exactly. Because you were sitting behind me.
Yeah.
Hi, Preeti.
Hi, Preeti.
I have the same face, Preeti.
Preeti, let's have a get together like this. Where's Rita and all this?
Rita,
Hi, Preeti.
your group will be our group more than your.
Okay, let's be academic now. I think let's be academic now.
Okay.
Right?
Kindly please mute yourself.
Yes, please
Yeah.
mute.
Dr. Aarti, kindly, okay, done.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Aarti. Thank you so much. For the today's session, Dr. Aarti is the head of Department of General Education, Modern College of Business and Science, Muscat. She holds a PhD and MPhil degree in writing skills from the Maharaja University of Baroda, India. Both dissertations are exploring the cognitive process in writing in second language. Her teaching experience spanned more than 30 years and she had taught doctoral, postgraduate, undergraduate level students. She has successfully survived doctoral dissertation leading towards her PhD degree and presently is a foreign evaluator for two universities in India. She researched and published extensively and her research interests include developing critical thinking and teaching methodology. She is the author of Teaching English as a Second Language and co-authored book of Business Communication, English of Academic Purpose. She is a Muscat since 2014 and she teaches academic writing, business writing, technical writing and the world literature. Thank you so much, ma'am, to being here with us. So thank you. Thanks again. So kindly, ma'am, start. And now I'll make you as a host so that you can share your screen.
Yeah, I would like to share the screen.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Can I share the screen first?
No. Now you are the host, ma'am. Kindly, you have to start.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. And first and foremost, I would like to thank Galgotia University for inviting me to speak in this webinar on research skills. And I would also like to thank my own college, Modern College of Business and Science, who has sponsored this, who has been or who are a co-host of this particular virtual webinar on research skills. So let me just put up my slide at the moment. I don't know whether everyone is in a position to see my slide. Dr. Meenakshi, can you see my slide? Dr. Meenakshi, can you see my slide?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So
yes, madam, we can see.
Thank you. So let me start by saying that the topic.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. Kindly mute to all of the participants so that it will not create you disturbance. If anyone want to ask any question, then they can write it on the chat box.
Yeah. So can I continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So now, as you all can see, the title on the screen and the title of my presentation is Sustainability of Scientific Writing Skills and Publishable Research in Liberal Education. Now, there are 2 or 3 key words in this particular title. One is sustainability. Second is scientific writing skills. And third is publishable research. Where? In liberal education. And why I want to focus on sustainability of writing skills in liberal education, because as you can see today, more and more students are gravitating towards the engineering side, towards the computer education side for their degree. So because definitely there are more employment possibilities there. But nevertheless, liberal education has a far. I would like to just give an overview of this presentation of mine to bring in certain aspects of liberal education, which are definitely sustainable and they create certain skills in the 21st century. So as you can see on my slide, the overview which I'm going to speak on is just a brief introduction. Second is importance of research and liberal education in the field of technology, nuts and bolts of scientific writing, I consider nuts and bolts because scientific writing is definitely when you see how detailed one needs to go into these small aspects in order to bring your writing to a particular level. And sustainability of these writing skills followed by a conclusion. Let me begin by a quote from Klaus Schwab. He is the executive founder of the World Economic Forum, and in 2015, he said, "We stand on the brink of a technological revolution that will fundamentally alter the way we live, work, and relate to one another. In its scale, scope, and complexity, the transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. We do not yet know how it will unfold, but one thing is clear. The response to it must be integrated, comprehensive, involving all stakeholders from the public to the private sectors to the academic and civil society." Now, if we look at this definition, there are certain phrases and routine which are applicable today. So let us look at this brink of a technological revolution. We are not in the brink anymore because this was said in 2015. We are already deep rooted into this technological revolution. Fundamentally alter the way we live, work, and relate to one another. Yes, today this COVID-19 has fundamentally altered everything around us, personally, professionally, and definitely how we relate to one another. Scale, scope, and complexity of the transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. I think we all are evidence to the fact of what we are going through today. We have never seen such a pandemic before. We can understand its scope, and every day we are confronted with different situations, which is telling us how this complexity is so vast. It has transformed our lives beyond recognition. And we also know that life will not be same again for all of us. And therefore, what should be our response? Integrated, comprehensive, involving all stakeholders. And when we are talking about stakeholders, we are talking about the industry, which is in the private and the public sector, the academic, and even the civil society. So when we are looking at all these three things, public, private sector, academic, and civil society, we are into one whole society where we are looking at economics, we are looking at academics, and we are looking at the way exactly what liberal arts is doing to us. Now, let us ask some questions to ourselves. In today's technological age, what is the role of liberal arts studies? Why should students study subjects that fall under this discipline? How do students benefit by studying these subjects? And why should research be conducted in this field? Now, as I said, in my previous definition, not definition, but the quote from Schwab, it encompassed everything. So liberal arts also has a very, very important role to play. Because what liberal arts does it offers interdisciplinary subjects. So when I say interdisciplinary subjects, it offers economics, sociology, psychology, languages, logic, philosophy, and you name it, and it is there. And definitely, it adds to the breadth and the skills of knowledge that the students need to possess in this rapidly changing world, because it is not the same. It is every day is it's a new day for our students and for ourselves also. So what is it doing? It is enabling student. If the students study this, it enables students to look beyond their areas of specialization. Say, for example, they are studying computer science or they are studying IT. But that does not mean that they should not know what is the psychological repercussion of all this. They should reaction of the society towards them. So definitely, it enables the students to look beyond their areas. And it helps students to navigate the complexities of the 21st century labor market. Why I say this? Hello, can you all hear me?
No, ma'am, your voice is breaking. You are not
Okay,
audible, madam.
okay. Just let me share my screen again. Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible now?
Yes, 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 you are audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I'm continuing from here. Uh, yes. So I was here. So definitely, what liberal arts education does it provides an academic environment that promotes intellectual skills. It fosters
Ma'am,
critical
there is
thinking.
a
It
voice is
inculcates
you.
social
Everyone is saying your
competencies,
voice is
and it
cracking.
develops transferable and generic skills. And it promotes, yeah.
Ma'am, your voice is cracking. Some are saying there is a.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I think now it's a bit better.
Yes,
Is it
ma'am.
better?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it promotes, so definitely applicability of liberal arts education promotes these kinds of skills in an academic environment. So now let's understand why research is important in this technologically driven era. Whatever technology we are using, whatever online tools we may use, definitely humans are the drivers of this change. And they are going to change this through their creations, through their innovative ideas, through their experimentations, which they are going to communicate through research. And this communication through research, they are going to contribute to the knowledge base, and definitely they are going to communicate this innovative ideas through their writing and through the way they publish. So now, the most important point is, how do you write up these ideas or innovations in a language which will be accepted by journals? And as you can see, this is the focus of my talk today. So let me start by showing you this particular graphic. Now, this graphic I have adapted it from a source, And it is telling you that here we are looking at a egocentric text. What do I mean by an egocentric text? I mean that whenever we write anything, it is egocentric. It is writing, we have written it for us. We are assuming many things that the reader knows, but that is not true. What, the reader is not in a position to understand many things because we have not made it explicit to the reader. So that is what we mean by egocentric. We are writing for ourselves. And when we want to publish any document, what do we want to do? We have to transform the knowledge. We have already created the knowledge, but now we have to transform the knowledge. There has to be an interaction between the author and the text in order that the knowledge gets transformed. And definitely, how will the knowledge get transformed? By applying certain strategies. Strategies of language, style, tone, appropriate word choices, redundancy techniques, and some meta comments. So this is not enough to publish any article. Yes, this is the first step. First step is writing. Second second step is transforming the already created text so that it is fit for publication. So now, if we want to publish our paper, there has to be a synergy between the text, the reader, and the author. So, what do I mean by synergy? We need to take the reader into consideration, and we have to transform our text for the reader. So not only these language based activities we have to incorporate in our text, but we also have to see what do the publishers want. How should the in-text citations be written? How should the referencing be? How should the structure be? Whether we are plagiarizing. And this is not unique to itself. That means you do one thing and then do the other. It is not like that. It is together. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that knowledge transformation is based on the kind of journals we are looking at for publication. And in order to publish in a particular high impact journal, Scopus index journals, we need to transform the already created knowledge into something better so that the publication is accepted, so that our publication is accepted. To move beyond. So that's why I have said this slide of mine is saying researcher, the craftsman. So just as a craftsman, say for example, a sculptor, if he or she is given a piece of stone, he goes on chiseling, the details of to prepare a statue. So similarly, we have to do it for our language. We have to do it for our research paper. We have to, in our research paper, we have to look at the language, the style, the appropriacy of words, all the techniques which I talked earlier, but not individually. We have to do it in a cyclical manner. Why do we have to do it in a cyclical manner? Because if you can see, the research paper is made up of sections and subsections and paragraphs and sentences. So sentences being the minutest unit of a research paper. So definitely, whatever we are doing has to go upwards. It has to go from the sentence level to the paragraph, to the subsections, right up to where it encompasses the entire research paper. So with this thing in mind, let me say that what kind of language is required for a research paper. Because when you are reading something, You are not only transmitting knowledge, but you have to create an impact on the mind. And creating the impact of whom? The editors, the peer.
Yes, Dr. Aarti?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I think my screen stop sharing, so I need to go back to my screenshot. It is telling me host disabled participant screen sharing.
Now you are the host.
Okay, so what do I do now?
Now you can share your screen.
Yeah, can you see it now?
No, ma'am. Kindly share again.
Okay, just a minute, please. Can you see this?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, okay. Just let me go back, please. I'm sorry. Just a minute. Can you see it now?
No.
Now?
No.
Okay, just a minute, please. Let me just redo it again. I'm sorry for maybe there is some internet connection problem, which is not allowing me to do that. Uh,
It says your bandwidth is low. Aarti's bandwidth is low.
oh, is it?
That's what it mentions.
It is.
Okay, so can you all hear me speak?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I may not be able to share the screen, so let me continue with what I was doing. So maybe I can share my PPT a little later, so that I don't waste on time also. So what I was trying to say is that when we are writing any communication, it has to be accurate, concise, clear, and objective. So what do I mean by this? Uh, can you all see the screen now?
No.
No.
Okay, so I'm just speaking now. Okay, I can share the screen a little later when it comes back again. So when I'm saying that it is accurate, what do I mean by accuracy? I don't only mean grammatical accuracy, but I also mean accuracy in terms of ideas, concreteness of ideas, correctness of ideas, conciseness. So concise means brevity, short, crisp, but adhering to the core. Clear means clarity of ideas. And when I say clarity of ideas, it means without any ambiguity, without any vagueness. So whatever we are writing, it has to be clear. A clear message it needs to go to the publishers. And objective. The fourth point is objective. When I say that, yes, it is not subjective in nature. Whatever is being written can be applied to the general public. So now the question is, how do we achieve it? Uh, it is telling you how to review the language, but I'm sorry I'm unable to show it to you. So I'm just speaking out. Maybe I can share the slides a little later. So the first thing is about reviewing language. So you should not write statements in a negative manner. I know that two negatives make a positive, but that does not apply in the research paper. In research, the statements always have to be written in a positive manner. Sentences should be free of grammatical errors. Then sentences should be short and direct. It should not be in a convoluted, it should not be written in a convoluted manner, whereas where the reader is unable to understand what you are speaking about or what you're writing about. Then there has to be a variety in sentence structures. Many ideas should not be written in one sentence. Now, when I say this stems from the many PhD theses that I have evaluated. And many a times I have seen that, the writers, or I would say the students, they put in too many ideas into one sentence, because of which the focus is lost. Then the sentences also should not be too long, which are always completely using transitions, commas, and semicolons. You know, again, I would say that I have given one example over here, but if you are unable to see the example, I'm sorry, it is not in a, I'm not in a position to show you that. So let me also go into another aspect of language, and that is the word order of sentences. The word order of sentences is extremely important to focus on a particular aspect. Because if the word order is not correct, then the focus of meaning, the meaning shifts from one idea to another and one point to another, which disrupts the entire cohesion and cohesiveness of writing. The next point which I wanted to use was appropriacy of words. Now, when I'm talking about appropriacy of words, I mean to say that there are certain category of words that need to be avoided. Which categories? Words having multiple meanings, emotionally loaded words. Why? Because I will come to it one by one, that why should we avoid multiple meanings? Because multiple meanings leaves a reader in a confused state of mind. He or she is not in a position to understand which meaning he or she should choose from. Therefore, it is very important that you need to use words which have the exact meaning. Similarly, emotionally loaded words like huge, good, bad, incredible. Something may be good to you, which may be bad for me. So these are emotionally loaded words. Instead, what you should use determinate words that have a nuanced and a specific meaning. So when I say nuanced and a specific meaning, remember research is nuanced. A research piece of paper or researched work has a specific meaning, and therefore only those kinds of words need to be used which gives the exact meaning. Then confusing words. Confusing words, say for example, accept, and principle, they do not amount to spelling errors. Unfortunately, they amount to misinterpretation of meaning. Therefore, we definitely need to avoid that to understand that we are on the right track. Then revealing low degree of conviction and strength of meaning, which do not reveal conviction. Let me take the example of one two or three words. Say, for example, argue, assert, tell, claim, and state. Now, in this link of words, you can easily say that the words argue and assert or claim are more convincing, they are more strong, and they tell the exact mind of the reader much more than just the word tell or state. So you have to be careful that what are you trying to say at that particular point. If you are arguing something, use the word argue. If you are just telling something, just use the word state. So if the appropriacy of word always depends a kind of meaning you want to tell the people. Similarly, Abstract nouns should be avoided, like believe, think, perhaps, maybe. No. All these words reveal tentativeness in thinking. That means the writer is not clear in what he wants to say or what she wants to say. Instead, you should use strong words like examines, builds, determines, surveys, tests, investigates, etc. So going to the next slide, I have said researcher as a stylist. So when I'm saying researcher as a stylist, what do I mean? I mean that looking at all the techniques that he or she is trying to use through language or words, there is something else also which the researcher has to do. And he or she has to use clear, coherent, and cohesive piece of text, which is actually achieved by organizing content. And how do you organize the content? By using linkers. And these linkers, they join sentences to paragraphs, paragraphs to sections, and sections to the entire paper. Just as that analogy I had taken, that sentences lead to paragraphs, paragraphs to sections, and sections to the entire paper. So, also, when you are talking about a clear and a coherent piece of text or a cohesive piece of text, it definitely means that all sentences are linked to paragraphs. And let me just again try and share this link with you, because in case uh, you are in a position to see this, I will be very, very happy. Uh, I will just try and share my screen again. Uh, is it possible for you all to see it?
No,
No?
no.
Okay. I don't want to waste my time. So let me use this as cohesion of sentences. So when I talk about cohesion of sentences, I mean linking one sentence with another. And I link the sentences with certain words. And why do I link the sentences? Because I want to make the text flow. And I'm making the text flow, which means that my thinking is flowing. I am linking my one point of my thinking to another. And for that, I'm using logical cohesion. I'm using words like addition, comparison. If I want to show result, I will use the word result. If I want to summarize, I will use the word to conclude, to summarize. If I want to infer something, I will use the word inference. So all these kinds of points, all these kinds of words, I'm sorry, lends itself to making the text flow in a particular research paper. Similarly, grammatical cohesion, the use of pronouns, that is very, very important. The words like or words of prepositions, to, into, until, all these also add to the grammatical cohesion of the research paper. And of course, next is lexical cohesion. When I am talking about lexical cohesion, I'm meaning certain words that can be repeated. And in fact, if you want to repeat those words, you can use the synonyms, you can use parallel structures, you can use any other form of words that you want to use. So if I want to organize my paragraphs, I will use very, very short paragraphs. And every paragraph of mine should deal with only one idea. Because more the ideas in a paragraph, more the confused reader is going to be. And therefore, the paragraph has to deal with only one idea which runs from the general to the specific. My sentences, they have to be placed in logical sequence, otherwise the cohesion is going to be lost. And finally, The paragraph should begin with a topic sentence and end with a concluding statement. Why this? Because it needs to be connected to the entire research paper that we are looking at. Now, there are some other strategies also. For example, using redundancy techniques, using ambiguity, using vagueness, the tone of the paper, etc., meta comments, which add actually to your research being published because they are going to tell you something more. Conciseness, their redundancy techniques is going to tell you conciseness. I spoke about conciseness as being very brief, but adhering to the core idea without losing the meaning. Then I do not want sentences that are half written, because if sentences are half written, we don't understand it. Let me give you an example. The example is one sentence: this paper is interesting. Yes, grammatically, it is correct. There is no problem. It questions any answers. Many more questions can be asked. This paper, which paper are we referring to? Is interesting. What is interesting in that paper? It's something may be interesting to you, but it may not be interesting to me. So what interest are we talking about? And this paper is interesting to whom? So if you can see that though this sentence is grammatically correct, yet many questions are raised than the answers that are given. Of course, we need to delete phrases and linkers which does not add meaning. Just going on writing and writing and writing, and adding words and linkers, just to make the text long and wordy and verbose is no, it's not a good characteristic of a research paper. Then short forms. Short forms and contracted forms of words are to be avoided, except for acronyms. Say don't, couldn't, shouldn't, or even, for example, when we are saying EG, no. For that is when we say I.E, no. These kinds of short forms are not accepted by publishable journals. Now let me come to the another point, and that is the meta comments, cross-sectional pointers, which I talked about. That cross-sectional pointers are actually pointers between paragraphs and sections which signals to the reader that yes, some information has been told in the earlier part of the research paper, which is being looked into, or which is being sort of referred to in the latter part. And the pointers that are used is the following: the above figure, according to figure 1, as discussed in section 2, as referred to, or as explained above. So all these kinds of phrases, there are many more. This is not the only list. It is not exhaustive at all. There are plenty more. And these are called meta comments or cross-sectional references, which always guide the reader to a particular part of the research paper where it needs to be referred to. Tone of the research paper has to be objective. And when I say objective, the language that is used should be non-sexist, not only he, she, or whatever is you want to use, and it does not have to be biased towards gender, religion, faith, caste, or creed. So it has to be absolutely a non-biased language that you have to use. More importantly, it should not be non-authorial voice. That means you should not exert authority. And for that, we should not use the word I. So that is very important. If the researcher is saying, I am doing this, or we are doing it, then definitely you are trying, the editor will feel, the peer reviewers will feel that you are trying to exert a lot of pressure on us to accept your own ideas. So it is better to avoid we, it is better to avoid I. Instead, it is better to use passive constructions to make it more objective for the readers. And of course, next comes the citations, plagiarism, and referencing to take it to the level of publication. We have to acknowledge the author, use in-text citations, follow the structure of the research paper that we are, depending upon the journal that we have to use for publication, appendices, referencing style, all has to be adopted depending upon the rules and policies of the journal that we are targeting, because every journal will have a different policy of referencing. As you all know, we have different referencing styles. We have the APA, we have the Harvard, we have the MLA, we have the Chicago Booth, we have the Massachusetts. So, which referencing style is that particular journal adopting? So, accordingly, we have to format our paper. So, once we have looked at all the we have transformed our paper from our egocentric text to the writers, to the way a journal wants, then we have to definitely look into the text citation. And of course, plagiarism, we all know. And over these 5 days, we have talked a lot about plagiarism, the percentage of plagiarism that is required in a particular research paper. Sometimes it is benchmarked at 10%, sometimes it is benchmarked at 25%. So it all depends upon the policies of the journal that you have to, that you want to target for publishing. So now, how do these research skills develop 21st century skills? So if I am looking at a research, what has, and if a student is conducting research, what skills does the student acquire? The student acquires critical thinking skills, because definitely a concept has been formed, a methodology has been worked out, data has been collected, and he is trying to think through that problem to give the results to the society. Collaboration. He or she is collaborating. Who he or is she with? Who is he or she collaborating with? Collaborating with the peers, collaborating with supervisors, collaborating with library, collaborating with the society, collaborating with the academicians. So definitely the skills of collaboration are developed. Communication, interpersonal and intercultural communications is being developed. Interpersonal, the researcher is communicating with himself through the text. Is this right? Should I use this word? Should I not use this word? Will this particular word help in revealing the correct meaning? Will this structure, will this grammatical structure be appropriate for the idea I am going to say? So he's constant in communication with himself, or she, the researcher, is constantly in communication with herself or himself, and in constant communication with the text. So definitely this is very important. And what is the result of all these things? The result of all these things is creativity. Creativity of preparing a research paper. He has created a research paper for publication. And definitely, this creativity of the researcher needs to be disseminated to the entire world. It needs to be told to the entire world through publishable journals. So, now in conclusion, I would like to say that yes, we are living in a digital age. We are taking classes online. Blended learning and flipped classrooms may be the new norm. In fact, we just heard our entire session on blended learning by Dr. Basant just now. But whatever it is, research in liberal arts will always have a humanizing effect. Today, also, as I said, why humanizing? Despite the pandemic, despite people working online, despite me trying to convey my ideas to you online from Muscat, I will always need to understand how is this going to affect the society? How is it going to affect the people? What are going to be the psychological implications of all these things? How is society going to accept it? And again, let me tell you, if liberal arts was not there, if research in liberal arts was not there, then I wouldn't have been able to make this presentation to you on academic writing. I wouldn't have been able to tell you what are the nuances of the research writing skills which any publishable journal require. So definitely liberal arts does have a lot of role to play in humanizing the effect. Technology on one side, but definitely technology is machine. Finally, it's a machine. So we have to have that humanizing effect on us. We are humans. Our feelings have to be looked into. And therefore, research in liberal arts always soothes it down, always helps us to understand the people around us and helps us to understand how we can go forward in our lives. And therefore, students, if they are doing research in liberal arts and publishing it, they are definitely becoming lifelong learners. They are more work ready. And why I say this? Because as I said earlier, employers require not only in their graduates, they require not only technical skills, but they require soft skills. They require teamwork. They require problem solving capabilities. They require critical thinkers. And all these things can be had through research. So definitely liberal arts develops students holistically, and research writing skills will never change. Uh, I needed to show you a very important graphic, which I'm unable to show you, which is, I would just like to describe to you and explain to you that it is the graphic of a tree with its roots deep inside the soil, deep inside the earth, and it is full of leaves. And what does this symbolize? This particular tree symbolizes a research paper. It symbolizes a research paper. The small leaves on that tree actually are the different publishable researchers journals that we can see today, whether they are Scopus Index journals, whether they are from Web of Science, whether they are from Elsevier, whether they are from Springer, open access journals, Francis and Taylor, Sage Open, you name it. And these publishable journals, what do they have in common? These can be only accessed. So the fruits and the leaves of this tree can only be accessed if the roots are firmly in the ground. And the roots are nothing but the writing skills in a research paper, the redundancy techniques, the sentences, the in-text citations, appropriacy of words, meta comments, language. So if your research is strong in language, if it is accurate, if it is accurately told everyone, or accurately the publishers, the editors, and the reviewers have understood what you want to say, if it is cohesive, there is clarity of thought, if there is objectivity in your language, remember, this is the mantra of publishable research. If you do not have this, if your research paper does not have any of these criteria, then no matter what, even if your idea is 100% applicable to the general public, unfortunately, it will not get published in any of the publishable research. So, dear researchers, dear friends, and dear colleagues, the criteria, or as I said again, the mantra of scientific writing skills, which can be published in any of these high impact and Scopus index journals, is accuracy of language, conciseness of language, clarity of thought, and objectivity in language. So thank you everyone for your patient hearing. And once again, I'm sorry that I have not been able to share the screen with you, but this definitely, I will send it to Dr. Meenakshi so that she can then pass it on to all of you.
Thank you
So
so much, ma'am.
thank you. Thank you very much. I'm open to questions if there are any. Dr. Meenakshi?
No, ma'am, there is no any question.
Okay, thank you so much. And I would
All the participants, please kindly join the valedictory function at 4 o'clock. So link I already share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay. So
Yeah.
now I can see you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I don't know what happened at that time. Anyway, so thank you everyone.
Hi.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you, Dr. Meenakshi.
Well done.
Hello. Can I talk to Dr. Meenakshi Sharma, ma'am? Hello. Hello. Meenakshi, ma'am. Hello.
Sir, I think she has left the conversation. She is not there. I think so.
Just now, ma'am is talking about the link. So where she shared the link?
If she has not shared the link, I think you can find it in the PDF she has shared. ID and password both are there in PDF also.
Okay, ma'am. But indeed the time is mentioned, ma'am. 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. There is another session, na?
Well, for valedictory function, there are 3 links shared, and that too at 5. And she's talking about 4 o'clock.
Yeah, ma'am.
One second, sir. Let me check the PDF link. 1 second.
The browser that has enclosed with a mail, there is the meeting ID and password is given, and all the timings are 5 to 5:30. And there is another session.
1 second, sir. I'm just.
Yes.
Okay, boss.
Yeah, it is from 5 to 5:30, 5 to 5:30. Yeah, and she said about 4 p.m.
जी मैम मैं वही कह रहा था और
Yeah,
एक
1
सेशन
second.
जैसे अभी
Bala sir, are you there? 1 second, sir. Bala sir? Dr. Bala sir, are you there? If you got any email ID, you can ask
मैम
on
IIT में वही मेरा क्वेश्चन वही तो है मैम कि इसके बाद एक सेशन और है जैसे कि ये अभी 2 से 3:30 होने वाला था और फिर 3:30 से 5 o'clock का एक सेशन और था और फिर उसके बाद 5 से
बट
5:30
वो जो
तो
3:30 टू जो 5 PM वाला जो सेशन था वो
जी जी
वो अर्लियर हो गया, लाइक 2 o'clock हो गया, जो डॉक्टर आरती मैम ने बोला।
तो मैम फिर अभी लिंक कौन सी फॉलो करना है? वो 3 जो लिंक दी उनमें से भी कौन सी फिर 4 o'clock को?
सर लिंक सबकी सिमिलर है, जो भी 5 to 5:30 वाली लिंक है, आप एक बार